the topic is media pitching, but I'm taking it a little more broad. So it's not like you're going to walk out of here and you're going to be going around pitching the media like crazy. I first want to talk about part of it is messaging, and a part of it is more sort of mindset related about how you want to approach it when you do it. And then later in the year, we'll have a training where we're going to specifically talk about how to pitch your regional media, which I think is a really important part for all of you. But this is more general, and this will help you not just with that when we get to it, but also with some of the HARO queries and how respond to them. So let's just get started. And so I will just tell you a little bit about what PR is and what it's not, because I always find that there are a lot of misconceptions out there in the world about what it actually is and how it works. Then we'll talk quite a bit about messaging, like I said, mindset, and we'll dive into the different elements that are part of a pitch when you do actually approach to media. And there is some homework as well at the end of it. Not a lot, though. It's keeping it really, really on the light side of things. And like, as you can see in my background, always, like when I talk about this, my goal always is to keep it simple. And I only want to teach you things that are really useful and necessary for you to know. You don't need to know everything that I do. So we're really just keeping it to the basics. And a lot of what we're going to talk about is helpful not just for PR, but it'll also be helpful for some of the marketing activities that we talk about when we cover other topics. So this is my basic philosophy when it comes to PR. It's like I said, keep it simple. You do need to have a plan, which is what we talked about last month, actually. I strongly believe that if you just stick with the basics, and they're simple to do, anybody can do it. You know, it's not rocket science. But if you do that and you repeat it over and over again, you will have success. And you'll have more success than people who, chase after shiny opportunities as they come along. It's all about consistency and thinking long term and not giving up, because PR is the long game. With the HARO queries or quoted, you can get some quick hits, but that's really unusual. The kind of pitching we're talking about now is much more long term, and some of it can materialize within a month or two, but some of it can take a year or sometimes longer, especially when we're talking about projects getting featured. So just keep in mind that you don't have to invest a lot of time, but you have to do it consistently. And it's about building relationships. That's really all that PR is. You build relationships with the right journalists. I have a lot of people in the media that are actual friends of mine because I've worked with them for 20 years, right? And you just have to believe that you can do it. I think that's critical. Don't be intimidated. It's simple. It's very simple. You'll see. So let's talk a little bit about what PR is not, right? So PR is not the same as advertising. At the same time, PR is not free, right? Advertising is what we call paid media. PR is what we call earned media. So you don't have to pay money for it, but you have to work for it, which is what I mean when I say it's not free. PR is also not just media coverage, and we talked a little bit about this when we were talking about planning, because there's events, there's speaking engagements, there's influencer type elements in it. It can be a lot of different things, but for the purpose of this training, we're going to focus on media exclusively. It's also not always super glamorous because it does require work that can be repetitive. And it's definitely not propaganda. So in PR, we're all about the facts. We're never trying to sell a story or an angle that is not true. Our job is to represent things in the best possible light. It's like a metaphor that I heard that I really like. It's like, it's like when you pick flowers and you have to put together the bouquet in the best possible way to make it look most beautiful. That's the job of PR, to take what you have and present it in the most beneficial way. But it's not spin. Spin has a negative connotation, and professional PR people, we don't do that. We don't do that. And also, it is not your solution if you're just too cheap to pay for ads. And I say this because I've seen this many times in my career, that people say, oh, we don't have money to buy ads. Let's just do PR. PR is only going to work for you if you're willing to work on your story and make it relevant to the media that you're going to be working with. So it's fun. It's the fun part. Okay, so let's talk about what it actually is. I have to move you guys a bit to the side so I can read what I said. So the official definition is public relations is a strategic communications process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. And the key phrase in this is mutually beneficial. And I will talk about this quite a bit because getting published is beneficial for you, but what you provide to the media is beneficial for them because they're always looking for content. So really, it is, it's a win-win. It's definitely a win-win. PR and how we look at it is part of marketing, which is why all the things we talk about work together so well. It can support your social media. It can support your SEO. It works hand in hand with your advertising. It's like everything should be a holistic. Everything should be holistic when you look at your marketing. But what makes PR stand out and why it is so powerful is the third-party credibility that you get from being featured in a reputable media outlet. And we talked a little bit, we just did a podcast about word of mouth, and I say it's PR is like word of mouth, but it's better because it comes from somebody who is recognized, right? It's like if you can get that, like for Maria, if she can get featured in Fast Company speaking about AI, that is priceless, basically. And you can use that for a very, very long time. It is low cost compared to other marketing tactics, definitely. It does require authenticity, like I had talked about before. Here's a quote that I love from Bill Gates. He says, if I was down to my last dollar, I'd spend it on public relations. And he's a smart guy, So it is really, when we start out doing PR, it is really important to know yourself and your brand. And we talk a lot about this with other exercises, like the client avatar is part of this, but I'm going to talk a little bit about crafting your own story. And Maria did that too. Actually, if this is something that you can integrate AI into and probably use some of the prompts that Maria has used. When I originally put this together, AI was not a thing, frankly. So it has changed everything. But I think that there's opportunity to leverage that in it as well. And maybe Maria can say a couple things about that once she knows what I am gonna say. But basically, what I always recommend people put together to, what I say, craft their story is your bio is important. And I know Maria talked about this, but there is what I would call a short intro. It's like a short bio. It's what you can use for media pitches. It's like what you can use in your profile on Instagram or other places where you really just have a few words to say who you are. Then the longer version of the bio is what Maria talked about more so. And that's mostly for your website. Maybe if you have any printed collateral for your business, you can use it there too. And you can always have it on hand for background. You could potentially share it with the media too if they're asking you for more information about yourself. But if it's on your website already, that's usually not necessary. Then there's something else that, and this is going to be part of the homework. And I think if you do any of the things in the homework, I would encourage you to do your elevator pitch. And this is more something you would say, right? And it would be different from your short intro. And I'll have directions on how to develop this too. But an elevator pitch really is like you can think about yourself being at an event and you get into the elevator and there's a journalist there and and say, oh hi, how are you, what are you doing here, and then what is it that you're going to say in that moment. And it has to be short enough that it has to be short enough and distinct enough but powerful enough that you're memorable. So I think that's a really good exercise to go through. The other thing we talk about a lot in PR are your key messages. And here's some questions. If you have never done this exercise, it's good to do it. And I'm giving you some prompts, so to speak, to help you think about what basically your key messages are, what differentiates you from other people in the same space. Because in order for you to get the attention of the media, it's important that they understand exactly who you are and what your specialty is and what makes you different from everybody else that's doing the same thing. And in the industry, there tends to be some very generic messaging that everybody uses. So the point of this is to get to a point where you can focus in on something that's really distinctly unique to you. And we'll have some of the, don't worry, you'll get the presentation and some of this is going to be in the homework too. So it'll guide you through the process if this is something that you can do. I didn't make this part of the homework because it's something we talk about repeatedly, but it's also something that's good to go back to and look at again. So here's some examples. Like, and I took these from my own business. So you get an idea of what I'm talking about. So like for me, I would say, design businesses don't have to spend a lot of time or money to get PR. That's super basic, right? And I say a back to basics approach applied consistently is what creates PR success. And I provide designers a little bit of help they need to become their own best publicist. So it's nothing complicated. It's really just, it pares down everything that you stand for. And this is something, if you guys are up for doing this and you have a draft, you can bring it to one of the calls this month too, and we can work through it, which sometimes is very helpful to have somebody provide feedback. So this is what I talked about. And this, if you don't have one, this is also something I think would be a good idea for you to put together. Or if you have one, maybe go back and just review it to make sure it is on point. Because that's, like I said, you use it on social. You can use it in your media pitches, including your Haro pitches. You can also use it in other emails, like as a super short introduction of who you are. And it is super basic: name, job title, business name, location. What is your specialty? What's your unique selling proposition? If you have a particular mission, you can include that too. The contact information is different. Okay, so that's just whatever, phone number, email, but this is more about who you are. It shouldn't be, and I didn't double check if that's still the right character limit, but it's got to be super short. 150 characters is not a lot of characters. So this is what I would say. Okay, my name is Miriam. I'm a PR coach with my online platform called Getting DIY. I help interior designers do their own PR without spending a lot of time or money. So it's not about making promises necessarily, but it's just about outlining you and your purpose. And actually, this one is nice and short. So for your bio, and we don't have to go into a lot of details. You can go back to Maria's prompts on AI, especially if you have your short bio already and you can build an AI chat can help you build on that. But where you want your longer bio is if you actually do give an interview to media, they will ask for a longer bio. So you will need that. If you apply for any speaking engagements, and Jason knows this very well, they're going to ask for a lot of information and a more extensive bio. If you want to be in a podcast, they're going to ask for this. If you're pitching for brand partnerships, they're also definitely going to want to know more information about you. So it's good to have this in your back pocket. And here's what I would include. Maria always talks about, making it client focused. And that's one way to do it. For me, it's more about really, it's factually saying who you are, where you are, what you do, what you have accomplished, and what you stand for. There we go. Okay, now your elevator pitch. Like they're all of these different pieces are related, they're just slightly different, right? But so if you think about meeting somebody that you've never met, like what do you want to tell them? Who you are, what you do, what your value proposition is. And most importantly, you want to grab their attention. So when you go about writing this, I would say just start, and you could even ask Chat to give you some ideas. You can tell Chat, okay, write an elevator pitch for me with no more than 150 characters. Include these main 3 points, right? Or if you have a bio on your website, maybe you plug that in and just tell it to say, okay, create an elevator pitch of no more than 150 characters for me from this. Oh, see, here is that 30 seconds. And as a rule of thumb, when you speak for 1 minute, a typical pace at which you talk is 150 words, so it shouldn't be more than 75 words. I actually should try that with Chat too. So here's what I would say. It's like I'm a PR consultant, and I run an online platform called Getting DIY. I help design businesses do their own PR without spending a lot of time or money. You see, I always say the same thing, and that's what I do. My back to basics approach makes it easier for them to stand out and get covered by the media. On average, my clients see results within the first 2 months. So that's where I sort of put in the hook and say, and people say, oh, wow, really? I didn't think that, So that's the attention grabber. So it's good to put something like that in there. So I would love to see all of your elevator pitches, sometime this month. And honestly, if you have Chat do it, you can bring that and we can wordsmith it from there on one of the calls. I like this. And this is very true. So if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And in media, this is very true. They always say, like, actually, to be a writer for a tabloid is much harder than being a writer for, say, the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, because to make it as simple as possible so everybody can understand it, that's the hardest task in writing. So try to keep it simple, and Chat can probably help you with that too. Everything got so much easier, right? So in the homework, I said I'd love for which, and honestly, you can pick whichever element it is that you want. I do definitely do the elevator pitch. Okay, it's a really good exercise to do, and you can use chat's help and bring it to the call, and we can work through it, and you can get feedback from everybody, which I think would be super helpful. The short bio, if you have one, just double check it and make sure it's okay. Your key messages, that's always something you sort of keep in the back of your mind. And if you've never really thought about the different questions that I'm going to be listing in the homework, it's, maybe you can have a conversation with your team about if you're not clear about what that really is, what you stand for, what your brand stands for.
I was going to say, if you're working with chat,
Mm-hmm.
tell it you are an expert copywriter. Based on this information, can you help me write an elevator pitch? So just when you're using chat, just preempt it by telling it at what level of expertise you're wanting it to help advise you. And you can also tell it to ask you 10 questions to help, like, what 10 questions should I answer to help craft a good elevator pitch? And then it'll ask you the 10 questions.
That's too many questions.
Four. I'm going to go with 4. Just tell it to give you 4
Three.
questions to help, 3 questions to help you write your elevator pitch. And it's a game changer. I had it write mine recently and everybody has been so impressed with it. So.
Oh, you should share it in our next call. Bring it. Okay.
Is it 3, 4, 5, or 10?
3.
Because it's got to be super short. Okay.
Yeah.
If you have 10 questions, it would be way too long. That would not work.
I know, but if it asks you 10 questions, you can follow it up with, can you help me write my bio? Can you help me write this? Can you help me write that after you answer all 10
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why once you tell it it's a professional copywriter and, have it ask you those questions, then you can build on it, all those other things.
Yes.
So, you have all the tools to make this, get this done.
Maria, you and I, we're gonna do this, you and I, so we can share it with people. I think
Okay.
that's good. Yeah. No, I love that you can tell it to be a copywriter. That makes so much sense.
Huge. It's a huge benefit.
And you can use it, you could definitely use it for crafting pitches too, which we're going to talk about a little now, actually, that here. So today we're going to focus on what I call the proactive pitches, which means they're not requests that come to you, but you are the one who comes up with the idea and the angle to go approach somebody in the media. You take the action, right? And the different things that you might want to pitch, there's products, you can pitch trends, ideas. Typically, projects are what businesses would like to see featured. And if you get a project feature, you can use that for 5 years, longer. If you are featured, whatever, in Midwest Living or modern luxury or whatever it may be, Florida design, right? It's like it has so many legs, it's like you can use that over and over and over and over again. It's not going to go away. So even if it's effort, it will be worth it. That's my point. There's cold and warm pitches. It's a little bit like sales. You may know a person from previous experience, but if you don't, it's completely okay to reach out to people that you have never met. This is super, super important. It's like I said, it's like when you go into a pitch, think positive, it's a win-win. It's like they want your content. You share the same goal. It's like the journalist needs your content and you want the media coverage. So it is a win-win as long as the content is aligned and makes sense for the readership. um, of the media outlet. I like this acronym. It stands for their interest, not yours. So when you pitch, my point is, it's like when you market to a client, you have to keep in mind what they need, what their interests are. It's the same with the media. It's like you can't go into it thinking it's like, oh, I want this to be published. It's like maybe you think that, but then you have to think about, what's the best platform to get this done? It's like, is this relevant? If I pitch this to this outlet, is this actually relevant for their audience? Are they going to be interested in? So you just have to take a little bit of ego out of it. And I always say it's about serving the media. It's not about selling to them, because editors don't like to be sold to. Okay. But if they understand that you are trying to help them, they're going to love you, because they're people like you and I. And what I always say is just ask yourself, well, what's the worst that could happen? There's a lot of fear of rejection. And that does happen. But if you think about, I always say, it's like serving coffee, right? It's like if you work in a restaurant and there's a guest there and you offer them coffee, and maybe they're not in the mood for coffee, or they just had some coffee, so maybe they don't want your coffee, but maybe next time they come in, they're really going to be, craving a good cup of coffee. So it's like it's like so many things have to align for your pitch to land and be accepted. The large majority of pitches either get no response or are rejected. You just have to know that. So don't go into it thinking I can send out one pitch and then I'm going to get my media feature. That's not how it's going to work. But if you're strategic and disciplined about how you approach your pitch and you have a plan, it can absolutely happen for you. It's too bad Robbie's not here, because we have a good example of hers.
I'm here.
Oh, you are. There you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we said, what, eight
Okay.
different magazines, I think we tried to get your project
Oh,
published.
yeah, that's right. A lot. But we started at the top.
Yes.
And
Oh, I'd
worked our
love to
way
talk
down.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just generally speaking, I say it 3 times, but the best way to pitch the media is via email. Okay. Don't pitch them on social unless they specifically say they want to be pitched on social media. Some of them do, but it's not many. Don't call. It's not sales. It's like I have not called a journalist in years. Okay. The only time I would call is if ahead of time I make an appointment with them and we say, okay, let's schedule a call to talk about this. Then I would, otherwise I would only email. They're very busy people. Here, if I say, if there's a local editor that you can go meet, actually, that's a great opportunity. I would always recommend that. You can go have coffee with them, or maybe you meet them at an event. It's really helpful to have those personal connections, but that's not always possible. So I say, if possible. Desk side visits is when you go visit the media in their office. And it used to be much more of a thing. It's like because they're very busy, if you want to make it easy for them and you have something important to share with them, you could say, hey, how about I stop by your office, for 20 minutes and I can tell you what I'm thinking about this. Here is what Robbie was talking about when I call it pitch hierarchy. It's, and especially when we're talking about pitching projects, you have to go one by one. So you cannot, under any circumstances, pitch the same project to more than one media outlet or even one editor at the same time. It's very much frowned upon in the media industry, and because what if they both want it, right? And typically all project content is exclusive. So only one magazine is going to feature project X, right? Potentially, if they don't feature the whole project, and let's say they didn't show the kitchen for whatever reason, then you can take the kitchen and pitch that to somebody else, but only after the dust has settled. And it's really important to have open communication with the media that you're working with about what you want them to do, that the content is exclusive and unpublished. So don't go pitching an old project that was already published somewhere to another media outlet, because if they find out, they're going to be very unhappy and they're not going to be talking to you anymore. Exclusives used to be more limited to the bigger publications, but nowadays, most of the regional publications, even some of the online outlets, they require that the content is exclusive to you. So when you pitch a project, I would just operate under the premise that it needs to be exclusive. And if you talk to them and they say, no, it's fine, if you go pitch it to, like, if it's a national publication and they say, it's fine if you pitch it to an online outlet or a regional or local outlet in your area. They may say that, but you just want to make sure that you have a very clear, everybody knows exactly which parts of it are going to be published where, and everybody is okay with it. That's what I was just talking about. So sometimes you can divvy it up. Like Robbie, like you've used the project that got published, other pictures of it have been used in online articles. So that is completely fine then, especially once some time has settled. I would not do it before it had been published, though. That would have been a no-no. But generally speaking, the hierarchy goes national magazines, the big ones, the House Beautifuls, Elle Decor, Architectural Digest. Some of the SIPs are special interest publications. So it's like, beautiful kitchens and baths. There's still some of those out there. And it's actually, for any of you, it would be amazing to get picked up by one of those, because they're more coffee table books than magazines even. So they have a really, really long shelf life. After nationals, it's regionals, and then online. So when you have a really good project, I'd always say, we're going to shoot high. And then if that doesn't pan out, then we're going to go down the list and try the other magazines. And that's exactly what we did.
How long should we wait for them to respond back to us? So if we pitch, it to House Beautiful, what should we do? What's the protocol on that?
So, like I said, ask, just communicate. And we'll get to that, Robbie.
Okay, sorry. You're in order. All right, no problem.
And so here's just, like, depending on what the project is, here are some of the angles that you can focus on, right? Maybe it's a whole house project that you want to pitch. Maybe there's just a spectacular kitchen. Maybe the style's so unique. Maria was talking about a project yesterday that just seems so unique that, that in and by itself is the picture. There's a funky color scheme, or the homeowners are whatever, famous or just especially quirky or different or whatever. The point is, you have to figure out what is unique about the project that you're working with, and those are the elements that you're going to highlight in your pitch. You absolutely do need professional photography to pitch any kind of project to the media. That's non-negotiable, especially if it's for print, right? Here's just some other things that editors like to talk about, that they're really receptive to it. Anything that's seasonal, colorful, has special materials. There can be a business angle to it too. It could be if it's a commercial project, that works as well. If there are super unique products that you've used in the space, it's like sort of niche brands or that can be a big draw. They also really like what problem did you solve, right? If they can, let's say you'd go to a Better Homes and Gardens, for instance, like if your project can teach the reader something about how to approach a problem that they have, that's the type of angle that they'd be really interested in. Business is so important, it's on there twice, but yeah, you get the idea. This is not as relevant for you guys, but there are people who may have products that they want to pitch to the media. That process is quite a bit different, but it also does involve exclusives, especially in the design world. And all editors love all new products. So if there are new products that either are yours, or even if you're using new products in a project, that can be even if it's like a color of the year, if you have a project that features any of the colors of the year, that's another angle that editors would really like. But if and when we get there, these are things we can talk about. So if you have a project you want to pitch at some point, you can bring it to us and we can talk about what the best way would be to frame it. So what do you actually want to send? Like if you wanted to send a pitch to an editor, what do you send, right? The most important thing is keep it super short, okay? They're very strapped for time. They don't want to read a whole novel. So you want to tell them who you are. That's why you have your short bio. You want to send images. A headshot of yourself is good. Then you want to send them photos of your project. People sometimes are hesitant and say, well, what if they're going to steal my pictures or whatever? It's like the media, they're not going to use your photos unless you give them permission to do so. There are very strict rules in place that they're not going to break. So, and you don't have to put in a watermark or anything. You can just send them low-res photos or even like thumbnails if you have a number of pictures you want to share, but they like to see as many pictures as possible to really get an idea of what it is that they're looking at. If you have video, you can also send video. You definitely want to give them sort of the ins and outs of if it's a project, I have a list of things that you want to include. You want to tell them where it is, what the challenge was, what you did. If you have before and afters, that's another thing that they absolutely love, because it's so it speaks for itself. But yes, you definitely want to include like the size of the property, where it is located, what exactly the scope of the job was, if there were any special challenges that you overcame while you were working at there's a whole, and you would only send that though once they express interest, right? Your initial pitch is just going to be super basic information. Here's what I have, here's what it looks like. Here's what stands out about it. It's like 1.5 paragraphs maximum, and some pictures in a Dropbox link. Never send attachments, and I think that's almost a rule that a lot of people use amongst themselves, but pictures clog up the media's inbox and they get so many emails. I mean, some of them get hundreds of emails every day. So just make it as easy as possible for them to see right away what it's about. It's like I will embed 2 or 3 photos in the actual email so they don't have to click on a link. It's like they open the email and they're like, whoa, oh, that's what it looks like, Visuals are definitely powerful. And if they like the picture, then they will read what you wrote. So here's the basic ingredients that I would into the pitch. You want the subject line, and there's whole, lots of trainings out there that teach you how to write a subject line, but I would just say what it is. Don't try to write a newspaper headline, just tell them what it is. That's all they need to know. Just stick with the facts. Of course, you say hello, you introduce yourself, you tell them what your idea is. That's basically your pitch. What's the big idea of your pitch? Is it a project? Is it a new product? Is it the homeowner story? Is it whatever it is? That's your main hook. Then you have some details. Bullet points work really well, so it's easy to read. Don't write Robbie. I'm like, don't write a novel. Just keep it short and write it as if you were explaining it to them while you're talking to them. Keep it simple. Then do have a call to action and say, usually what I would say is like, well, if this is of interest to you, please let me know and I'm happy to send you more pictures or hop on a phone call. Just offer a next step, right? And then you sign off, you include all your information and no attachments. If you have more pictures, put them in a Dropbox or a Google Drive, whatever cloud-based platform you use. And I'll have this in the homework too, but this is what it's going to look like. It's really just an email. You send somebody a super basic email. That's all it is. And you make it your own. There's no must-have phrases that you have to use. You just write it like you normally would write. You're courteous, you're polite, you're friendly. The most important thing is that you actually send it. It doesn't really matter how good it is as long as you send it.
Do something, right?
Yes, you have to take action. It's like and I think I say this at the end, the only pitch that's never going to get picked up for sure is the one that you never send, And here's what I was just talking about. It's like your subject line, it can be a headline, but don't make it clever, okay? It's got to be clear. Don't try to be super clever because then they're like, well, what is this is like over my head. I'm not going to open that. If you're this is a little PR specific, but like what PR pros do, it's like if you're pitching, say you pitch House Beautiful, you're going to do research about how they structure their headlines. And when you send them a pitch, you're going to send them something that resembles the style that they normally use in the magazine or on their website. It depends. So like some of them are longer, some are shorter. What tone do they use? Are they like super casual or is it a little more elegant in how the language is? And honestly, chat could probably help you do that quite a bit too. I have not tried that yet, but I'm sure it could. And then I would, in the headline, it's like you're going to have to tell them what it is. It's however you make it sound, but if it's a residential project in San Diego, or if it's a whatever Tuscan kitchen in San Diego, you want to say that in your headline so they know what's coming. Don't try to be overly clever. You can be a little bit clever, but not too much. Here's what I was talking about before, and I call it etiquette. It's just like the do's and don'ts of pitching. It's like, don't pitch the same story or project to more than one. And here's, Robbie, what you were talking about. So once you initially reach out to somebody, then you have to wait until you hear back from that person. And how long, we'll talk at that. I think it's on the next slide. But if you have two completely separate angles, you can possibly pitch those at the same time. I wouldn't do this for a project, but if you're talking about trends or a feature, like maybe you pitch a shopping feature to one outlet and a design advice feature to another one. So you could do that, but I would not pitch a project simultaneously at all. And it's like, you just have to be honest. Just never say the project has never been published if it has, or even they might ask you if it has been, if you've shown it on your website. It's like, if it's a really high profile publication, that's a no-no. So if you have something super high profile, don't show it anywhere before you've pitched it to the media. Like I said, email, be yourself, be helpful, keep it short, not overly formal, because there are people like us. And what they really like is, like, if you reach out to them and you know their work, right? So if you pitch somebody, it's like you want to do a little research about what they write about, maybe what their last story was. It's an approach that PR people use a lot, and say, hey, I just read your story about X, Y, and Z, and it made me think that you might be interested in this, So they understand that you have done your research and you know what their outlet is about, what their readership likes, what they write about. So make it as good of a fit as possible for them. And when you pitch something, make sure you have everything ready. Say it's a project, okay? You want to have all your photography organized. You want to have your source listings of the products that you have used in it, because if they end up featuring it, they may ask for that. And when they do that, you don't want to have to scramble and pull all that together, because the deadlines are probably going to be short at that point. So you just make sure you have everything assembled before you even start reaching out. And say thank you if they do feature you. That's it's like any kind of business relationship. You don't have to send them a big gift or anything. It's not like that. Some of them are actually not allowed to even accept gifts. It's their editorial, like their ethical guidelines that don't. It could be perceived like a bribe. So some of them are not allowed to do that. But you can send them a nice email, or give them a shout out on social media, which that's something they all would love for sure. So then,
back in etiquette, can you give us any tips on how to handle our pre-submission projects when they're featured on our social media?
How to show them, or
like how to handle a project that we want to publish or pitch with the etiquette with social media. Like how are you supposed to do that so that the project is fresh to the publications?
So you're not going to talk about it at all on social media. That's the short answer. Potentially a way to get around that is it's almost like you can maybe do a close-up of something in the project and sort of use it as a teaser. But I might not even want to do that, because then you can tease it, but then you have to wait until actually, like if it were to be in a print publication, you would have to wait until that has come out before you can talk about it on your social media and on your website. And that could be a long time. So I would say, if you're serious about getting a project published, don't talk about it at all until it has been published. And this is for like the big name publications. If it's for a regional, they may not be as strict, but it's something I would ask them. I would say, are you okay with me talking about this on my social media? And then if they say yes, yes. If they say no, it's no. But I would definitely ask. Okay. So here's, Robbie, what you asked about. It's once you send the initial pitch, it's like, I would say give them at least a week is not a lot, actually. I'd probably give them 2 weeks and just go check in, because chances are that they have not opened your email. So just go back and say, hey, I'm just checking in, making sure you saw my email, wondering if you have any interest in it. And the way I would do it is I would forward the initial email that you had sent. So it's in the same thread. So they don't have to go dig in their inbox to find your original email, because they're not going to do that. They're going to, oh, that's too much work. They're not going to do that. So make it easy for them. And say something like that. That's all. So that's your first follow-up. Then typically, and so you have your pitch, your hierarchy of media outlets that you're going to be reaching out to. So you want to sort of move through these, so you can get to the one that's actually going to pick up your project. The second time, if you're pitching the exclusive, I would only give them really 3 chances to grab your project. So it's the first initial pitch, then the first follow-up, and your second follow-up is like closure. Okay. So you wait maybe only a week after the first one. You say, hey, since I haven't heard back from you, I will assume you're not interested, and offer the story to another outlet. And it's often then that they will react. Because then they're like, well, let me look at this before it goes to somebody else, and then if they like it, that's what's going to prompt them to react to you. But that's it. And if you don't hear back about this, or maybe they will say, yeah, sorry, it's just not a fit right now, then you move on to the next one, and you do the same thing over and over again until you get to somebody who's interested. That's exactly what we did for Robbie's project 8 times. So it's as simple as that. And basically, you have to think about it too, even if you don't get a response, they don't pick up your project, but it's like you're building a relationship, you're building rapport with this person. And if you treat them professionally and they know you're trying to provide them good content, they will respect that. And if you do that, maybe you do this, I don't know, twice a year. You're not going to be pitching all the time, or even if you do it once a year, but they will know your name, and over time, it'll become more familiar, and they'll be more likely to open your emails, and they'll be more likely to take a closer look at your project, which means you're more likely to get the actual placement. So when they do, like I said, always be cordial, always thank them, share it on social media. All the media, they're super grateful if you help them spread the word about the stuff that they write. So do that. You could potentially tag the editor or just the outlet. It depends. If they talk about, you can engage with all of their content online, but especially if, of course, they mention yours, you want to be sure to like that and comment and share it on your own channels. And I mentioned this before, but it's really important, but it's really difficult to internalize. But if you get a no, or you get no answer at all, it's not personal. It doesn't mean that they think you have no talent and that your project is not worth it. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that that what you sent them right now is not the right fit for however, maybe they just featured something that was very similar, you know. Maybe it's just not the style they're looking for right now. Maybe they're already booked out in terms of the content that you wanted to pitch them for the next 6 months. It could be a number of things, so it's not personal. And if you get any kind of response, if you get a negative response, that's a really good sign because they read your content and they evaluated it and they decided it was not the right fit, which just means, to go back to the coffee analogy, it's like they just don't want it right now. But maybe another time, another project, it very well might be that they're interested because they cared enough to look at it and give you a response. That's success. So that means you can go back with new ideas. And you don't have to be pushy, but you also don't have to be shy. You know, just be natural, be real. And here's my favorite thing. The only one that for sure fails is the one you never sent. Okay. So that was all I have for today, except for the little homework. And here are the 3 things I'd like you to consider. Like I said, the short bio, the elevator pitch. And if you had, like, as I was talking through pitching, like maybe you had something in the back of your mind and said, oh, you know, this is one project or this one idea that I really think has potential. Maybe, and I'll give you templates in the homework. Maybe just see what you can put together or have chat do it and then bring it on the call and we can talk about it. And we didn't talk about who you would send it to yet, but if you have something in mind, I am here to help you figure out who you could pitch that to. So I know this would be the more ambitious step, but if any of you are in a place where you want to try that, I think you should. If not, at least write your elevator pitch. Okay. Questions? And you know, using AI for pitching is okay because it goes in an email. So it doesn't necessarily, I would still recommend you make it your own after you extract it from chat, but it's fine. You don't have to worry about it because they're not going to use it word for word, right? It's just background information. So it's not the same as responding to a Haro query because they might take that and plug it into their article word for word. So it should not be AI generated. But for the pitch, it doesn't. For a pitch where you just provide information about something that you want to gauge their interest on, it doesn't matter.
I have a few comments. So on my projects, I remember when I first met you and I was explaining about how every project isn't something that I want in a magazine.
Yes.
And then you can kind of narrow it down. You want to make sure that you line up the project like it looks like something that would be in their magazine, the right style and what they're looking for before you send it. And then the other thing is some of my on something like that, what I did was I would put the process of doing the project maybe on my social media. I know you don't want us to put anything, but you know, at least before we needed something to put. So I might put, shopping for slabs or, you know,
yeah, you can definitely do that. Yeah.
And then maybe materials or something. But yeah, you keep it really kind of secretive, you know. And then some of the projects are just not projects I feel like I should pitch to traditional home or something. And then those are the ones that can definitely go on my social media and possibly even then pitch them regionally. You know, I don't care as much. You know, I've got one special, amazing project that's really unique that I'm going to spend all this time and effort and do what you said in terms of in order, put the bio together. On the project that we got published, I think the photographer took about maybe 20 photos. So when we actually had it published, I think we sent them maybe 10 and they picked maybe 5. So
Yeah.
then all those other photos I could do whatever I wanted with. We had kind of gone to a few of the top ones and it wasn't what they were looking for. But after that, I answered a lot of kind of the queries with those, and they might be saying, oh, I need an outdoor space with gray tile. And that was how I got a lot of placements in online articles after that one had been published. Because I was able to use all 20 of those photos in different ways, an outdoor space, a bathroom, stuff like
Yeah.
that. You can get a lot of leverage out of the the photos, the photographer's photos.
Exactly. Yeah.
Figure
Mhm.
out your plan, and then after you get it where you want it, then you can take all those photos, put them on social media, submit them for queries and all that.
Mhm.
So that was, yeah. And then your thing about telling them, okay, I'm going to move on, that was great, because that we went through 8 or however many you said, and we're like, okay, that could have taken me a year to wait a month for them,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
since we said, okay, we're waiting 2 weeks, we're waiting one more week, and now we're going to move on, and
Yeah.
then sometimes they might respond really quickly and go, oh, no, wait, I've been sick and I wanted to get back to you.
Mhm.
We move on to the next one. So you got a really good strategy and plan. And then it does feel like when they don't want it, it does kind of feel like, you feel like it's not good. It's hard. It's hard to like keep your, your
Mhm.
feeling good about yourself. So that's
Yeah, I
and
know.
that's what you can help us with, because you can like say, no, this isn't, because I remember you telling me, no, this is an amazing project. I don't know why they didn't want it, and because you do have to send them something good,
And
if you
remember the first one we tried was Architectural Digest, and what
did.
happened to know the editor, and he wrote back to me and he said it's a beautiful, and some of them will say that like it's a beautiful project, but we're
Yeah,
booked out whatever
that's
18
right.
months or whatever. It's like some of
Yeah,
them will say that, and
yeah,
they're
that was
not.
good. I did feel my feelings weren't hurt on that one. Like he said it was beautiful. So
Yeah.
okay, it's not me. Yeah, that was it's an interesting process, but it was worth it. In the end, it was worth it.
Yeah.
So it's good. And then just wait for I'm doing a really, really cool kitchen right now with quartz, no, not quartz, crystal countertops. Have you guys ever seen
Oh, yeah.
crystal? Yeah,
No.
we're doing crystal countertops on a crystal island with a waterfall, and it has little teeny black veins and actually little purple veins in it. So it's going to be really, really different. And then we're going to put it on the hood too. So I'm excited. It should be. I don't get a lot of these in San Diego because we either want Mediterranean or a white kitchen. That's pretty much it. That's what everybody wants. So I'm excited about this gal's very arty. All right.
Awesome. I want to see it. Yeah. Apparently there are a lot of
You're going to see
good
it.
projects in the works. So
Yeah.
good. Yeah. And Robbie, you've already done a lot of this work, but it's good. We can work on the pitch for your kitchen,
Yeah, and then with all this stuff, it's like I forget things. Like if you're kind of not doing it every day
Yeah.
or once a week or whatever, you kind of forget. So it's a really good, like, oh yeah, I need to be doing that. There was a couple things on this. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to get back. I need to update that, or I need to be doing that, So
Yeah.
that's what I need, because I forget things quickly.
No, I get that. I'm in the same boat. Trust me. So good. Maria, did I leave out anything where AI could be more helpful? I think actually you can use it for a lot of this to really help you brainstorm and speed up the process.
I would just learn as much as you can about yourself and get your copy and your messaging together. It is so nice to have someone else clarify and kind of summarize who you are and what your business does, than it is to do it by yourself, for yourself. And so for sure,
Yeah, we've done that together too, haven't we?
it's been, yeah, and it's rough. I can safely say it's hard, but chat helped me get over some of my barriers really easily. So highly recommend.
Yeah.
I do need an elevator pitch. I mean, I haven't thought about that in a really
Mhm.
long time, and I need to have what I'm going to say to people right when I meet them. You know, if they ask me, "What do you do?" You know,
Yes. Yeah.
I need to have that ready, and I haven't thought about that in quite a while. And I think what I do has changed in the past 5 years too. You know, I'm doing more remodels, kitchen design, and this is the year when I'm getting. So I was going to start being really picky about my projects because last year I was just had way too much going on. I was just overwhelmed. So then I got a call from someone who was a mom from my son's old school, and she's remodeling a couple of small bathrooms. And I had myself all ready to like not take a project like that, but I like couldn't say no to her because she's sort of a friend. She's a mom from the school. She lives nearby. She made it in a way where I couldn't turn her down. So anyway, oh well. I guess I have to learn, you know, how to do that. You know, they're not all going to be that way. But I think if someone's a past client, you have to take them, right? Like, I guess you can't not. I have to think about how will I figure out, maybe just, you know, delay it. Like say I can't do it right now.
Yeah.
But if
Just
you need me right
slide
now.
it in when you have, when you have an opening in your schedule. I don't know.
Yeah. She basically was like, okay, so then you're just gonna squeeze me in. That was because I told her I was really busy. I told her everything I was working on, you know, and then, oh, okay, you're just gonna squeeze me in then, and I'm going, okay, yeah, okay, you know, because it's like a friend, a mom from the school, so. But you know, you got to do that sometimes. I think if it would have been somebody, if it was somebody I didn't know, then I would have said no.
It'd be
I'm
easier.
here.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Hey, just quick, when you record these, I went to try to get the last week's and I don't know where to find them. I mean, I clicked on the link and then there's some teaching ones in there that on a box that came up under my account. But I'm just wondering if but there wasn't all of them and I don't know if I'm looking in the right spot.
I don't, well, we can maybe just reiterate the directions of where to find them so you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to
Okay.
go back and look because I'm not entirely sure what Jason named them, but they should. Yeah.
I think you kind of have to go from the email they sent. Did you look in that email?
I did.
Shannon?
So last Friday there was like here, you know, it said,
Yeah.
oh, Jason did a little short info.
Yeah.
It was really good. Listen to it. I clicked on it and it took me in, but I was logged in, but I didn't know where to find
I
it.
think that happened to me too. I think I clicked in and then I had to go somewhere else. Like I had to go to the top or something. So yeah, check that out, Miriam. I think I remember I didn't go exactly where I was expecting to go.
You have to find exactly yeah. We'll take a look and we'll put together like a step-by-step one so
Sorry,
you can.
I just never tried to
we
go.
want you to listen. No, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I found some that I had, but I didn't find last week, and I was like, gosh, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So step-by-step guide would be. Sorry.
No, it's all good. No,
Yeah, me too. That
it's good
happens
for
to me
us
sometimes
know these
too.
things. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll take a look for sure. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, well, if you guys don't have anything, then we can let everybody go and get
All right.
to
All right.
more.
All right.
All right.
Have
Bye-bye.
a nice weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Have
All
a
right.
good weekend. Bye.
Bye.